Yes, good evening, guys. Good evening to all of you. Bhumika, Loka Sundar, Kiran, Shivangini, Sudhanshu, and all others. So, guys, quite good number of students from central region. I think few students from northern region. So, good representation of central region and even southern region. Okay. So how are you guys? You have understood the basic concepts relating to chapter 4, fraud and responsibilities of auditor in this regard. Say till now, students, we have learnt about meaning of fraud in context of essay 240 and what type of misstatements could arise from fraud with which an auditor is concerned. So we had learned that two type of misstatements arising from fraud are relevant to the auditor. One is misstatements arising from fraudulent financial reporting, and another were misstatements arising from misappropriation of assets. We had also uh, learnt about misappropriation of assets under two heads, that is misappropriation of goods and defalcation of cash, because cash is a sensitive item. And besides that, we had also discussed about fraud risk factors. Okay, so we had discussed the meaning of fraud risk factors, that these denote events or conditions which may create pressure on the management to indulge in fraud or to provide opportunity to management to indulge in fraud. We had also gone through individual examples of fraud risk factors. So today, students, we shall be going through reporting requirements under Companies Act. So today we shall be learning specifically in relation to companies. In relation to companies, as per provisions of Companies Act. Okay. So till now we have understood the basic concepts, and now we shall see what are the reporting requirements, how the auditor has to report if he finds some fraud. Is every fraud is to be reported, and to whom it is to be reported, so and in what format it is to be reported. So these kind of things we shall be discussing in case of a company. These are law provisions, and since these are related to fraud, these are covered in this chapter. Some part of it you may be going through again in chapter on company audit. And okay guys, so is it clear? Yes, good evening Manisha. Is that clear? Any doubts till now? Yes, any doubts till now? Okay. So now we shall come to the reporting requirements of a company auditor in respect of fraud. Okay. So first we shall study about provisions under section 143 subsection 12 of Companies Act. (2013). So first we shall understand the provisions generally, and then we shall go through your module. Okay. So what does this particular section state? Section 143 subsection 12. It states that if the auditor of a company, he should be auditor of a company in course of performance of his duties. It means while he is conducting the audit. If he has reasons to believe, reasons to believe. So what do we mean by reasons to believe? Reasons to believe means that he should have some sort of evidence with him on which he is forming his assessment. Okay, it should not be a mere rumor or hearsay type of thing. Okay, so if he has reasons to believe that an offense of fraud, so what was fraud? This you already know. So an offense of fraud has been committed or is being committed. Beyond a certain amount. Now the amount is prescribed in the rules. It is not there in the section, it is prescribed in the rules. So we shall be discussing these provisions along with relevant rules. That if the amount exceeds certain threshold limit, then the fraud shall be reported to central government. Now this is the provision. And what do rules state? Rules state if the amount is greater than if the amount is rupees 1 crore or more, it means inclusive of 1 crore. That if fraud amount individually is rupees 1 crore, even then it is to be reported to the central government. Or if it is any amount more than 1 crore, then it is required to be reported to the central government. Clear, guys? Is it clear to you? So the auditor has to, the main thing in this provision is that the auditor, in course of performance his duties, he discovers, he finds that some fraud has been committed, either by employees or officers of the company. This is also the condition, either by employees or officers. Okay, so this so now what happens if the auditor finds that a fraud of say 5 crore is being committed, or say it has been committed in a company? What he has to do? What is the procedure? Now it is there also in the rules. So first of all, what is the procedure? We shall be discuss it generally. So procedure for reporting fraud of 1 CR or above. Okay, so first of all, within 2 days of his coming to knowledge, within 2 days of coming to his knowledge, auditor shall first report the matter to board of directors or audit committee, as the case may be. So guys, you have still not read about audit committee. So audit committee, you would be reading in a chapter on company audit. The provisions in this regard are contained in section 177 of Companies Act. You can understand that it is an oversight body. It is a committee consisting of directors and having and with certain conditions, and its main job is to ensure better corporate governance. Okay, it performs many oversight functions. So all companies are not required to constitute an audit committee. So in companies where audit committee is required to be constituted, the matter shall be reported to audit committee, and if audit committee is not required to be constituted, it is not there, then to the board. Okay, clear? So now what is the second step? This was the first step, now second step. So it shall inform the board or audit committee and ask them to reply within 45 days. To reply within 45 days that these are the facts, and these are the facts, and what is your position, what you have to say. Okay. So now second step is, now say board or audit committee gives its reply, now it shall consider the reply of the board or audit committee within 15 days. Okay, and he would send it along with his own report. So now what would happen if the board or audit committee does not reply? से ऑडिटर ने बोल दिया लेकिन बोर्ड ने इन्फॉर्म कर दिया कि ये फ्रॉड है, आपको क्या कहना है, बोर्ड और ऑडिट कमेटी ने कोई जवाब ही नहीं दिया, नो रिप्लाई. ओके, देन आफ्टर दैट पीरियड 45 days compulsory period is over, then auditor shall send a report stating that no reply was received from board, and this was the copy which I had sent to the board or audit committee, but no reply has been received. Okay, clear guys? So all these reporting is to be done in form ADT4. This is the name of the form which is in the Companies Act and relevant rules, form ADT4. I am again writing it ADT4. You have to remember its name. The name of the form is ADT4. Okay, so it is a specific format, and all the columns are to be filled. It asks for various information from the auditor regarding the fraud, and this form has to be filed by the auditor. Okay, so Himanshu, you are asking if board does not accept. Okay, let them say that we are not agreeable to your observations. Let them say to the auditor, but they have to give it in writing now. They would provide it in writing that we do not agree with your observations due to these reasons. But if the auditor says no, I believe that I have reason to say that fraud has been committed, then he would annex the reply of the board along with his report to the central government. However, it may occur that auditor himself changes opinion, says certain new facts come to his light. That is why this provision has been inserted, that first he has to communicate with the board or audit committee. Okay, so that he comes to know of their version. What does board has to state? What does audit committee has to state in this respect? Okay, and another important thing is, now in this, the law says that report shall be submitted to central government, but in central government to whom? It is precisely, it is to be submitted to Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, MCA. Okay, it is required to be submitted to Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So clear, guys? Now we have learned 3-4 things which you have to remember as far as your exams are concerned, which are important. Number one, the threshold limit where fraud is to be reported to the central government by a company auditor is rupees 1 crore or more. Okay, is rupees 1 crore or more. Number two, you have to remember the timelines. Okay, in what time the auditor, the board has to give its reply to the auditor, that is 45 days. Okay, and if board doesn't give its reply, then the auditor shall report the matter to the central government on expiry of this 45-day period. If the board has given the reply, then he would go through the reply, and within 15 days of receiving the reply, he shall forward the report to the central government. To whom it is to be submitted in the central government? That is also important, to the Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And most important thing, in what format it is to be submitted? It is to be submitted in form ADT4. Okay, it is to be submitted in form ADT4. Clear, guys? Yes. Any confusions? So this was the general outline of reporting of fraud. Now we shall see what is there in your module. So we are at page 4.19 and 4.20. So as per section 14, as per subsection 12 of section 143 of Companies Act 2013, if the auditor of a company in the course of the performance of his duties as an auditor has reason to believe, okay, that an offense of fraud involving such amount or amounts as may be prescribed. So this is the wording of section. Now what is prescribed is 1 crore or more. Okay, is being, yes, if time permits, Sonali, definitely I will do. Is being or has been. Is being or has been. What does it mean? Whether it is in the process of being committed or it has already been committed. Okay, has been committed in the company. Now another point, important point comes, by its officers or employees. अगर ऑफिसर और इंप्लाई द्वारा किया गया फ्रॉड है तो वो ही सेक्शन 143 सब सेक्शन 12 में कवर्ड है. ओके, the auditor shall report the matter to central government within such time and manner So rules prescribed then how it is to be reported. So now Sudhanshu, you are asking if board replies, then it is not to be sent to central government. No, Sudhanshu, you are mistaken. Why you are mistaken? What is that when say auditor has discovered a fraud, then within 2 days, first he will report to board or audit committee. This is the first step. Ultimately, he has to report to central government. The purpose of reporting to boards or central government, purpose of informing the matter to board or audit committee is just as to make them aware, because board of directors is a governing body, audit committee is an oversight body of the company. So it is to make them aware of the fact that look, that I as an auditor of the company have discovered this fraud of say for example 5 crores. Okay, and I give you a time for 45 days to give your comments, to give your observation of whatever I have stated, that how fraud has been committed, who are involved in it, because I would write all the modus operandi na. Okay, so it is not that if the matter has been reported to board, it is not to be sent to central government. It is the first step. Ultimately, it has to be sent to central government. It is the first step in the whole process. Is that clear, Sudhanshu? Yes, Sudhanshu, is it clear? Yes, Bhumika, fraud by management, it is covered under 143. What does management mean? Tell me. What does management mean? Directors are officers of the company, aren't they management? Directors are also officers of the company. See the definition in the Companies Act. Okay. So Syed, you are asking, after auditor submits that board has not replied to central government after 45 days, then what are further procedures taken by central government? Now it is for the ministry to decide. It would mean that ministry would conclude that board has no cogent reasons to explain its viewpoint. Okay, that it is possible that board or management itself may be involved in fraud. Okay. So Himanshu is saying third parties which were included in fraud definition has not included in this section. It implies what? Yes, Himanshu, these are not included because these are included elsewhere. So we will come to that point today only. But under section 143 subsection 12, fraud is to be reported when it is committed by officers or employees of the company. Okay. So the manner of reporting the matter to central government is as follows. Now this is the procedure for reporting. What we have already discussed. Procedure for reporting to central government. So what is the procedure? Procedure is, the first step is the auditor shall report the matter to the board or audit committee. First step. It is only the first step. Immediately but not later than 2 days of his knowledge of the fraud, seeking their reply or observations within 45 days. Clear? I have told you many times कि 2 दिन के ही उसके knowledge में आने के बाद he would inform the board or audit committee, and he would ask what you have to say. Please give your answer within 45 days. Simple. So on receipt of such reply, the auditor shall forward his report. So within 45 days, he would be getting his reply. He shall forward his report and also the reply of the board or audit committee. Along with the report of board or audit committee, he would annex it along with these comments. और उसके बाद comments भी उसमें आएंगे उसके auditor के कि board is saying that this way, but I am not agreeing to it. Okay. To the central government within 15 days from the date of receipt of such reply or observations. तो उसके रिप्लाई आने के अंदर उसके 15 दिन के अंदर ही उसको सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को भेजना पड़ेगा. ओके. नाउ नेक्स्ट, another situation it can come that say the board or audit committee does not reply. They do not bother to reply, or they do not have any answer to give. Let us assume. So in case the auditor fails to get any reply or observation from the board or audit committee within a stipulated period of 45 days. Okay, within that period. So this is the mandatory period. It is not that it is free for all. It is the mandatory period. Okay. He shall forward his report to central government along with a note containing details of his report that was earlier forwarded, for which he has not received any reply. Okay. He would say that he has not received any reply. Now the report shall be sent to the next step is to whom it is to be sent in central government. It is central government is a broad thing. In central government to whom? There are a lot of ministries. So the report shall be sent to the, say Himanshu, you are saying if auditor changes his opinion, then it means that fraud has not been committed. So matter ends here. Say he has sent some report to board and board says, gives his own version, and auditor thinks that he is wrong. His perception was wrong, or the board has given some new evidence. Okay, so then it means that no fraud has been committed. So when no fraud has been committed, then what is the purpose of reporting to the central government? So sections in the exam, Preetham, section in the exam, you have to write only if you remember it correctly. If you do not remember it correctly, then you can skip. But if it is good if you can write, but correctly. Okay. So as far as sections are concerned in auditing, you would be having sections only in your chapter on company audit, where law provisions are there. So this part is also related to company. So that is why one section has come. So under companies audit, you would be in that chapter, you would be learning law provisions relating to appointment of auditor, qualification, disqualifications of company auditor. Okay. Reporting of how a company auditor reports. So 5, 7, 10 sections are there. Otherwise in auditing there are no sections as such. These are there in the law subjects like in income tax or companies act. Okay. The report shall be sent on the letterhead of the auditor. It shall be sent. So quite detailing is there. So a report shall be sent on the letterhead of the auditor containing his postal address, email address, contact phone number or mobile number, and be signed by the auditor with the seal and shall indicate his membership number. सब कुछ आपको देना है उसमें. आपका नाम, पता, एड्रेस क्या है, मोबाइल नंबर क्या है, और आपका इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स ऑफ इंडिया द्वारा दिया हुआ मेंबरशिप नंबर क्या है, जो शो करता है कि यू आर ए मेंबर ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स ऑफ इंडिया. ओके. एंड द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग, द रिपोर्ट shall be in the form of a statement as specified in form ADT4. It shall be in a form. A performa has been prescribed, and the name of this form is Form ADT4. Clear? Now many of you would be having question in your mind. What happens? What happens if fraud amount is less than 1 crore? So then has auditor nothing to report then? Is he not bound to report to anybody? So section 143 subsection 12 also states that in case of a fraud involving lesser than specified amount, it means lesser than 1 crore, where the amount is less than 1 crore, then the auditor shall report the matter to audit committee or the board. Then his responsibility stops at the first step. He has not to report it to the central government. He shall report it only to the board or audit committee. Now why this sort of provision is there? Because in the wisdom of legislature, in the wisdom of parliament, which has made the law, they have thought rupees 1 crore as a material amount. Okay, that if the amounts involved are less than 1 crore, they are not bothered about it. Central government is not bothered about it. Okay, so they have fixed a threshold limit. Clear, guys? So if the amount involved is less than 1 crore, then the fact of fraud in the company is to be reported to BOD or audit committee. Okay. Again, in the same provision, within 2 days of his knowledge, same step which was the first step in the, okay, it would give nature of fraud with description, approximate amount involved, and parties involved. That how the fraud has been committed, what is the fraud involved, and who are the parties, which employees are involved, which officers of the company are involved, and what is the approximate amount. Okay, and this matter, when the amount has been reported to board of directors or audit committee but not to the central government, if such is the case, then this has also to be disclosed by the board in the board report. Okay, in the board report, when they will be preparing the company will be preparing the board report, and it would also give that under these heads, that nature of fraud with description, approximate amount involved, parties involved, and what remedial action was taken. Okay, so auditor was concerned with these points. Now remedial action taken, this point relates to management, to the board of directors. Okay, so from examination point of view, you can make distinction in your mind from this point of view, कि कोई MCQ आ जाए तो आपको याद रहे कि 4 ऑप्शन है, कौन सी ऑप्शन उसमें थी, उसमें नहीं है. सो गाइज, जब भी आप एग्जामिनेशन ओरिएंटेड तैयारी करते हैं तो आपको डिस्टिंक्टिव पॉइंट्स, फाइनर पॉइंट्स ऑफ डिस्टिंक्शन क्या है. जब आप चैप्टर पढ़ रहे हैं, आपको सिर्फ एक ओवरऑल आइडिया ही नहीं लेना चैप्टर का, एग्जाम में आप कहां मार्क खाओगे उसका भी आपको ध्यान रखना है. क्या क्या डिस्टिंक्टिव पॉइंट है, कैसे क्वेश्चन बन सकते हैं. ओके, is that clear? So this is an overview, same thing, this is an overview. So before we proceed further, let me ask you, would you like to see how does form ADT4 look? Remedial action means like uh, what steps the board or audit committee has taken, say to recover the amount or to take some legal action, filing an FIR, filing a case, these type of things. So Danshu, is it clear to you? तो सपोज एक फ्रॉड हो गया, किसी एम्प्लॉय ने फ्रॉड कर लिया, अब कंपनी वुड नॉट बी सिटिंग, हाथ जोड़ के तो कंपनी बैठेगी नहीं ना, तो दे वुड टेक सम लीगल एक्शन. So that is the remedial action. Either they will try to recover the amount, okay, or if the amount is not recoverable, they may file an FIR, okay, or the employee may be having some benefits with the company. उसके कुछ फंड वंड पड़े हैं वहां पे, okay, so they might try to recover from there. Okay. Now all of you are eager to see form ADT4. Now we fulfill your wish, and this is form ADT4. Form ADT4 report to the central government. So it is per se, guys, I am again telling you, per se the form is not in your syllabus. सिर्फ आपको दिखाने के लिए, आपको समझाने के लिए, आपकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग बढ़ाने के लिए आपको दिखा रहे हैं. फॉर्म एज सच सिलेबस में आपके नहीं है, सिर्फ आपको, क्योंकि अगर आपने एक बार फॉर्म देख लिया, 5-7 मिनट लगा लिया, आपने स्क्रॉल कर लिया, तो देन वो आप कभी भूल नहीं सकते कि ADT4 किस में देखा था आपने. आई कैन बेट ऑन दैट. आप कभी एग्जाम्स में गलत नहीं करोगे. तो पर्पस सिर्फ यही है आपको, टू मेक यू फैमिलियराइज विद दिस एंड टू मेक इट श्योर दैट there is a least chance that you forget in the exam. Okay. So report under section वही subsection 12 of section 143 on suspected in offense involving fraud being committed or having been committed. So guys, you have to remember what we had learnt at the beginning of chapter. We had learnt while we had done the definition of fraud that the auditor does not legally determine that fraud has been committed. It is for the courts to decide. So that is why it is written here suspected offense. Okay. So name of the company, general particulars first. General particulars, name, SIN, corporate identification number, address of registered office, name of auditor, general points. Okay. So date of AGM where auditor was appointed. Now his appointment details कि आप कंपनी के ऑडिटर कब अपॉइंट हुए. SRN and date of filing, ये आपका SRN नंबर क्या था. Address of the office, these are procedural requirements. Okay. So now we come to fraud. Address of the office where suspected offense is believed to or having been or is being committed. So it means उस ऑफिस का एड्रेस क्या है जहां पे फ्रॉड कमिट हुआ या कमिट हो रहा है. टेल अस द नेम, एड्रेस ऑफ द ऑफिस, फुल डिटेल्स ऑफ द सस्पेक्टेड ऑफेंस इन्वॉल्विंग फ्रॉड. आप डॉक्यूमेंट सपोर्ट में लगाइए उसके कि क्या डिटेल है, फ्रॉड कैसे कंपनी में हुआ है, किन लोगों ने किया है, सपोर्टिंग डॉक्यूमेंट्स क्या हैं, आपके पास एविडेंस क्या है जिससे आप कह रहे हैं. Particulars of officers who are suspected to be involved. क्योंकि सेक्शन 143 सब सेक्शन 12 सिर्फ एप्लीकेबल तभी है जब ऑफिसर और एम्प्लॉइज इन्वॉल्व हैं, तो इसलिए ऑफिसर और एम्प्लॉइज दोनों का नाम है। ओके, अगर क्या नेम डेजिग्नेशन अगर डायरेक्टर है तो उसका डिन नंबर क्या है, डायरेक्टर आइडेंटिफिकेशन नंबर। एवरी डायरेक्टर इज सपोज टू हैव अ डिन। पैन नंबर क्या है, basis on which fraud is suspected. So all details relating to fraud, basis on which fraud is suspected. Why do you think that fraud has occurred? What is your basis for arriving the conclusion? Okay, period during suspected fraud, which suspected fraud has occurred, date when you sent the report to the board or audit committee, when you sent the report to the audit committee, जब आपने रिप्लाई रिसीव की उसकी डेट। सो जो भी सेक्शन में है बेसिकली उससे डराइव किया हुआ फॉर्म में है। वेदर ऑडिटर इज सेटिस्फाइड विद द रिप्लाई ऑफ द बोर्ड, यस और नो। ओके, estimated amount involved in the suspected fraud, what is a detail of steps if any taken by the company in this regard? Any other relevant information? Okay, clear? Name and attachments. So is that clear? So that was an overview of form number ADT 4. Now guys, what does happen, what happens if say auditor does not report the matter to the central government? Say if the fraud has been committed 1 CR or more, but the auditor fails to report the matter to central government, the auditor fails, so there are penal provisions contained in subsection 13 of section 143. These are penal provisions. किस पे पेनल्टी, किस पे है, कंपनी पे या ऑडिटर पे? बताइए मेरे को, किस पे होगी पेनल्टी? कंपनी पे या ऑडिटर पे? ऑडिटर पे, क्योंकि ऑडिटर वाज बाउंड टू रिपोर्ट एंड ही हैज फेल्ड टू रिपोर्ट। तो क्या पेनल्टी है? दिस इज आल्सो इंपॉर्टेंट टू रिमेंबर। इस पे एमसीक्यू बन सकता है। अच्छा, इंपॉर्टेंट टू रिमेंबर, इन केस ऑफ ए लिस्टेड कंपनी ही इज लायबल टू ए पेनल्टी ऑफ 5 लाख। 5 लाख रुपए की पेनल्टी है ऑडिटर पे, अगर कंपनी लिस्टेड है। एंड इन केस ऑफ एनी अदर कंपनी पेनल्टी ऑफ ₹1 लाख। क्लियर? दो आपको लिमिट्स याद रखनी है, पेनल्टी ऑफ 5 lakhs in case of listed company and 1 lakh in case of other companies which are not listed, whether it is public or private. कंपनी की बात हो रही है, कंपनी की बात हो रही है। आपको स्टूडेंट्स यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड कि दीज प्रोविजंस पर्टेन टू ए कंपनी। आप सारी कहानी पढ़ के और भूल जाते हैं कि ये प्रोविजंस कंपनीज पे एप्लीकेबल हैं, अदर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के लिए नहीं है, कंपनीज पर एप्लीकेबल है। ये बात हमेशा एट द बैक ऑफ माइंड ध्यान में रखनी है, क्योंकि इतनी सारी इंफॉर्मेशन जब व्हेन इट गेट स्टोर्ड इन योर माइंड, तो देन you are confused. Naturally you may be confused. Okay, so guys, another important thing is that you have to remember that it is very important to note that these provisions shall also apply mutatis mutandis to a cost auditor and to a secretarial auditor. Say in case of certain companies, cost audit has to be conducted. There are certain industries where cost audit is mandatorily. You would be reading about it in your chapter on company audit. Okay. Similarly, a secretarial auditor by a company secretary, where in what cases it is needed, so that you would be reading in Companies Act. Okay. So even if a secretarial auditor or cost auditor, if he fails to report such a fraud, say if he has discovered some fraud and he does not report it, then the penalty provisions are also applicable to him. Okay. So it means this term, this is a legal phrase, it means as it is. जैसे कि एक स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिटर पे एप्लीकेबल हो रहे हैं, वैसे ही वो कॉस्ट ऑडिटर और सेक्रेटेरियल ऑडिटर पे भी एप्लीकेबल होंगे, इसका ये मतलब है. ओके. And one more, another important thing is that 143.13 it states that safeguards the acts of fraud reporting by the auditor if it is done in good faith. Okay, it states that no duty to which an auditor may be subject to shall be regarded as having been contravened. से ऑडिटर की कंपनीज एक्ट में कई ड्यूटीज हैं जो आप 2013 में पढ़ोगे, कंपनीज एक्ट 2013 में पढ़ोगे अंडर चैप्टर ऑन कंपनी ऑडिट. तो वो कोई ड्यूटी इससे वायलेट नहीं होती फ्रॉड रिपोर्ट करने से. when he is reporting fraud, it means he is reporting it in good faith as is required by law. So the law safeguards his the auditor's position कि अगर आप कोई fraud report कर रहे हो, so a protective shield is there. You later on it can't be said that you have done it with a malafide intention. Okay. Clear, guys? Students, another important question comes here. Say if a situation arises, a fraud has been committed in the company, say, and it has already been known to the company's management. Say either the management itself has discovered that fraud has been committed, or say cost auditor has disclosed, cost auditor has discovered that fraud has been committed before statutory auditor does anything, or secretarial auditor he has discovered. Then what is the duty of statutory auditor of the company auditor in this regard? क्योंकि सेक्शन 143 सब सेक्शन 12 में हमने पढ़ा था कि if he discovers, and what we had read at the it will go to central government. It will go to central government, Sudhanshu, to the concerned ministry. So we had studied that. What we had studied? We had studied that if he has discovered the fraud, but say in case he has not discovered it, but it is already there in the knowledge of the management, or somebody else has discovered it, cost auditor or secretarial auditor, then is there any duty, is there any responsibility of statutory auditor in this regard? He has to do something in this regard. So it is here in your module, the auditor should apply professional skepticism to evaluate that fraud was indeed detected by the management or through the company's own mechanism, so that distinction can be clearly made with respect to frauds detected due to matter raised by auditor as compared to matters raised by the company's internal control mechanism. So number one thing is he has to report only those frauds which are discovered by him. These have to be separated from those records which have been discovered by the management through its internal control mechanism. Okay, but story does not end here. Say reporting on fraud under 143.12 is required by the cost auditor and secretarial auditor also. So it is possible that an offense may have been reported by them before the auditor became aware. Okay, कि secretarial auditor और cost auditor ने पहले ही report कर दी offense before the auditor became aware. So therefore it has already been reported. So then the auditor need not report again. Say if the cost auditor has discovered the offense, okay, then the statutory auditor of the company appointed under the Companies Act, he need not report again this matter to the central government because it has already been reported under section 143.12 in form ADT4 by the cost auditor. Okay, but there are certain additional duties in this regard. He should, what are his duties? He should review the steps taken by the management. Say, we say कि that ये 5 crore का fraud है. This was discovered by cost auditor and it has already been reported to the central government, to Ministry of Corporate Affairs in form ADT4. पहले report हो चुका है. So auditor need not report it again. Statutory auditor need not report it again to the central government because it has already been reported. But he has to review the steps taken by management. कि आपने क्या किया, कंपनी ने क्या किया, मैनेजमेंट ने क्या किया, जो लोग कंपनी को गवर्न करने के लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल थे, what action did they take for say recovery of the amount, और क्या मैनेजमेंट हाथ पे हाथ रख के बैठी हुई है, whether they have filed an FIR, whether they have made some efforts to recover the amount. Okay, so what they have done. Okay, so he shall review those steps, and if he is not satisfied with the steps taken, he should state the reasons for his dissatisfaction in writing and request the management to perform additional procedures to enable the auditor to satisfy him. So he would ask for their reply from the management. If he says, I am not satisfied that the steps taken by you are sufficient, okay, then he can, and management does not make him satisfy within 45 days, then he would think that whether the matter needs to be reported to the central government. Okay, then he needs to assess. Even then it is not compulsory. He needs to assess. He needs to evaluate whether this matter requires to be reported to the central government. Again, because of inadequacy of the steps taken by the management. So clear students, आपको clear है? Whatever, I think 143 subsection 12 first part is clear to you कि when fraud is 1 CR or more, then it is reported to the central government. Now we come to a situation where fraud is already discovered by a cost auditor and it is not discovered by the statutory auditor himself. Then this matter already stood reported to the central government in form ADT4. Okay, no need by the statutory auditor to report this matter again to the central government. Okay, but he would review the steps taken by the management. with regard to the reported matter. What steps management has taken? Okay, if he is satisfied with the steps taken by the management, then it is fine enough. If he is not satisfied with the steps taken by management, then he needs to assess. It is not mandatory for him to report to the central government. Then he needs to assess. He needs to evaluate that whether the matter needs to be reported to the central government or not. Okay, if he feels the need, then he can report. If he doesn't feel the need, then he can't. Okay. Clear, students? Yes. Clear hai? So I think Sonali, you had asked about fraud risk factors. Yes, Sonali. Was it you? So we have a little liberty of time. So Sonali, you are asking about probably about fraud risk factors. So I would summarize it in just 2-3 minutes. So fraud risk factors, Sonali, these only indicate some conditions which provide a fertile ground for fraud to take place in simple language. जैसे अगर आपको से if you want to grow a plant in your garden, you would add some fertilizers. Okay, you would give some water. Similarly, because that pouring of water and preparing the soil and putting the fertilizers that make the soil fertile for plant to grow. So in that way you can understand whistleblower mechanism, Sayyid, we shall be coming later on. So in that way, fraud risk factors are indications of a fertile ground in which fraud can take place. Okay, say a company is having operating losses, जिस माल पे उसका माल ही नहीं बिक रहा है, उसकी से कॉस्ट प्राइस 100 रुपए है और सेलिंग प्राइस ही इज फोर्स टू सेल बिलो कॉस्ट, से एट 95 रुपीज, क्योंकि मार्केट में उस चीज की डिमांड नहीं है ड्यू टू वॉट एवर रीजन, बट ही हैज टू क्लियर हिज इन्वेंटरीज. ओके, सो these type of conditions there would be greater chance of financial statements to be fraudulently reported. The management may not want to disclose that they are incurring losses. Okay, why? Because they have availed loans from banks. Okay, or say investors might take out their money. Okay, so they may want to show a rosy picture when in fact they are making losses. To give you an example, okay, so it provides a ready condition, fertile condition for management to commit fraud, but it does not mean that every fertile condition would lead to the would lead management to commit fraud. These are only indicators. These are only indicators which show that fraud can occur. Whether it has occurred or not, that auditor can know by performing his procedures, by performing his substantive procedures. Okay, so if a company is incurring losses, it doesn't mean that definitely fraud is there. Possibility is there. Okay, fraud risk factors are the factors. Clear to you? Is it clear to you? Now I have explained to you in as simple language as is possible. Is it clear to you, Sonali? Drop a mail. Yes, Sonali. Waiting for your response so that we can proceed further. Whole class, other students are also held up, waiting for your mail. Yes, Sonali, drop a mail quickly. Yes, you are saying now clear. Okay. So before we start next topic from your module, let us understand it generally. Now there is a this order Carvo 2020. इसका पूरा नाम है कंपनीज ऑडिटर्स रिपोर्ट ऑर्डर। टू जीरो टू जीरो। द कंप्लीट ऑर्डर, दिस होल ऑर्डर, इसके बीच में स्टूडेंट्स देयर आर मेनी क्लॉजेस फ्रॉम क्लॉज 1 टू से 20-30 क्लॉजेस आर देयर वेयर ऑडिटर हैज टू रिपोर्ट ऑन डिफरेंट मैटर्स like whether the company is conducting physical verification of inventories at regular intervals, whether the company is conducting physical verification of fixed assets of property, plant and equipment at regular intervals. What are the reconciliations in this respect? So whether whether there is any diversion of fund, short-term fund has been used for long-term uses. So there are many such clauses under this order on which the auditor has to report. On which the auditor has to report. So these all clauses, this whole order is there in your chapter on company audit. Okay. So you will say कि जब ये कंपनी ऑडिट में है तो इसको यहाँ पे आप क्यों करवा रहे हैं सर? जब कंपनी ऑडिट का चैप्टर आएगा तो तब देख लेंगे, अभी क्यों हमारा टाइम वेस्ट कर रहे हो? वो इसलिए क्योंकि इसमें एक क्लॉज, देयर इज ए वन क्लॉज रिलेटेड टू फ्रॉड ऑल्सो. Okay, so precisely it is clause 11. Clause 11 जिसमें कि ऑडिटर को फ्रॉड के बारे में रिपोर्ट करना है. Caro 2020, yes, I am not having ready slide, but after the break I will show it to you. After the break I will show it to you. Sayyid, after the break I will show it to you. So clause 11 of Caro 2020 requires the company auditor to report on fraud. So till now we had learnt about the reporting requirements under section 143 subsection 12. Okay, now we shall learn about requirements of reporting relating to fraud under clause 11 of CARO 2020. Again, I am saying to you, familiarize yourself with this new term CARO 2020. You would read it completely, exhaustively. All the clauses you will be doing in your chapter on company audit. Here in this chapter, we are concerned with clause 11 only, which relates to reporting relating to fraud. Okay, so here we shall discuss what are the reporting requirements relating to fraud under CARO 2020, and how does reporting under CARO 2020 is different from reporting under section 143 subsection 12. It means how reporting in ADT 4 is different from reporting under CARO 2020. What is the difference in their scope? Which reporting is wider, which reporting is narrower? Okay, what the auditor has to report under CARO 2020 in clause 11. Clear, guys? So I first told you the purpose of reading this topic, so that you are able to comprehend it in a better way. Clear, guys? So should we go to that clause? Yes, guys, tell me, should we go to that clause? This new term, the basic idea, basic funda of this is clear to you? It does not sound strange to you now? तो टर्म्स के साथ, नए वर्ड्स के साथ स्टूडेंट्स पहले फैमिलियराइज होना पड़ता है. आप अपने माइंड को पहले फैमिलियराइज करिए नई टर्म्स के साथ, तो जब वो आपको अपनी लगने लगेंगी, व्हेन यू वुड गेट फैमिलियराइज्ड, तो आपका इंटरेस्ट भी बनेगा. यू वुड स्टार्ट टेकिंग इंटरेस्ट. ओके, कारो, अब दिन में 2-3 बार कारो बोल लेना तो इंटरेस्ट आ जाएगा अपने आप. Yes, guys. So the auditor is required to report under clause 11. So this clause number you have to remember, important. Clause 11 of paragraph 3 of company's auditors report order 2020. He has to state whether any fraud by the company, or any fraud on the company has been noticed or reported during the year. If yes, the nature and amount involved is to be indicated. So देखिए स्टूडेंट्स, सेक्शन 143 सबसेक्शन 12 की जो रिक्वायरमेंट थी और इस रिक्वायरमेंट में क्या डिफरेंस है? Yes, tell me. Now, what is the difference between reporting requirement under section 143.12 and reporting requirement under CARO 2020? What you had understood about You have already understood about 143 subsection 12 and Caro 2020 relevant clause is in front of you. This portion. So what is the reporting difference? Yes. Can you drop mail? Can anybody of you say that, look, this is the difference? Let us see. Let us see how you can quickly recognize. So when guys, when you were kids, you must be playing that game, spot the difference. They are used to come in newspapers. दो पिक्चर्स बनी होती हैं, spot the difference. जल्दी जल्दी भेजिए. So similarly, yes, Preetam, Sayyed, Himanshu. Yes, Himanshu, you are dot on. Himanshu Patak, you are dot on. You are saying that one section is wrong. Himanshu, it was section 143 subsection 12, not 142. Okay. So 143 subsection 12 does not involve third parties fraud. वहां पे fraud कौन सा था? Fraud by officer or employees. But here it also includes fraud by the company, any fraud committed by the company, which includes fraud by the officers or employees, or any fraud on the company. Say where the company is a victim, where some third party is committed, some supplier has committed, where the company is the victim. Okay. So, and there is no elaborate procedure, there is no reporting required to central government. It is separately reported from the auditor's report. Caro report is in addition to the matters which are required to be reported under 143, and the report is given to the is part of audited financial statements. Okay, given to the shareholders. So clear? So tell me then whether the, and another thing, no threshold amount is involved. अरे भाई वो कैसे भूल गए आप? Spot the difference game. We are playing the spot the difference game. There is no threshold involved. There was rupees 1 crore limit, and here it is no threshold. Any amount. There is no threshold limit involved. So guys, you seem to be poor player of spot the difference. अच्छे player नहीं हो spot the difference game के. ठीक है? So is it clear? And the auditor is also required to report whether any report under 143.12 has been filed by the auditors in ADT4. So here again it asks, एक तो बताना है कि whether any fraud by the company or on the company has been noticed or reported. It means that whether the auditor has noticed or reported. ये भी एक डिफरेंस है. वहां पे था कि only fraud which was discovered by the auditor that was to be reported. Okay. तो कितने डिफरेंस देखिए मैंने आपको बता दिए. एक लाइन के अंदर उसकी 3 लाइन के अंदर 3 लाइन्स वर देयर in 143 subsection 12 and 1-2 lines are here in Caro 2020. कितना डिफरेंस है. Now Bhumika is writing that no limit of amount. Yes. Okay. So Sayyed is asking which comes first, Caro or ADT? Obviously, Caro comes at the last stage. It is a reporting requirement when the auditor is signing the report. Okay, so when he is signing on the dotted line, सारी balance sheets audit हो चुकी हैं, then he has also to give a report under CARO 2020. But ADT4 has to be filed within 2 days of his knowledge of coming the offense. He has to report to the board, and then there is timeline 45 days, and after completion of that to the central government. Okay. And he has also to state whether any form ADT4 has been filed. So this requirement under CARO 2020 is wider. Here it also asks whether any form ADT4 was filed during the year. कि कोई 1 करोड़ से ऊपर का फ्रॉड आपने रिपोर्ट कर चुकी हो. So Syed, your question is answered itself in this paragraph. अगर आपने दिमाग पे थोड़ा जोर डालो तो you would come to know कि जब ये पूछ रहा है कि क्या ADT4 पहले आप फाइल कर चुके हो, तो it means कि ADT4 comes first. Is it clear to you? How you have to, I am telling you the technique, I am telling you the method of how to read between the lines. It would also help you in your company law classes, in your income tax law classes, and even in accountancy also, guys. You have to make it habit to study between the lines, to analyze the things. सिर्फ आपका मैथमेटिकल कैलकुलेशन करने का पर्पस नहीं है, उस मैथमेटिकल कैलकुलेशन के पीछे एनालिसिस क्या है. अगर आप वो समझ गए, तो अगर आपकी मैथमेटिकल कैलकुलेशन में कुछ गलती भी रह गई, इवन देन यू वुड बी गिवन ए क्रेडिट, बिकॉज आपने स्टेप सारे ठीक किए होंगे, क्योंकि आप उस चीज को समझते हैं. ओके. यस, ऑब्वियसली व्हेन it is a conclusion, it is the reporting. जैसे ऑडिट रिपोर्ट है सेक्शन 143 की, उसके साथ कारो की रिपोर्टिंग भी है. कारो ऑर्डर हैज बीन issued taking into account specific provisions in this regard in section 143. okay. and और एक तीसरी बात भी कंसीडर करनी है, whether the auditor has considered any whistleblower complaints. whistleblower complaints है, whistleblower होता है, ADT4 is compulsory only when fraud amount is 1 CR or more. CARO 2020, when you would be reading about CARO 2020, it applies to certain class of companies. There are 5-6 class of companies. To these companies CARO 2020 applies. So if your company of which you are auditor, if it falls under those categories, then CARO 2020 applies, and you have to make reporting under all those clauses of CARO 2020. And if CARO 2020 is applicable to your company, then reporting is mandatory. Bhumika, no confusion. Here. So what are the three things? So thus this is here the scope of auditor's inquiry is restricted to the following, to these three things. Number one, ये तीन चीजें आपको याद रखनी है. Frauds noticed or reported during the year. Frauds noticed or reported during the year. Whether notice means by the auditor or reported during the year. These have been already reported. Okay, reported during the year, and these frauds may be by the company or on the company. Or on the company. Clear? So next thing is reporting on filing of any report in form ADT4 during the year. कि अगर आप ADT4 में ऑडिटर ने फाइल करना है ADT4, obviously auditor has to file it. So reporting on filing report in form ADT4 during the year. If you have filed, then you have to state that yes, form ADT4 has been filed on so and so date. What is its description, and whistleblower complaints, if any, received during the year. Now, what is whistleblower? Whistleblower is a sort of complaint mechanism, say where a person alerts the company of some wrongdoing, of some fraud. It alerts. So in certain class of companies, like there are provisions in listing requirements that whistleblower mechanism is mandatory for certain class of companies. So the auditor has to state whether any whistleblower complaints have been received. Okay, and obviously he would see how these have been dealt with by the company. If say some whistleblower has informed, he might be having some inside information that some fraud is being committed, and he has made some complaint. So ये तो नहीं है कि क्या, what is the purpose behind this is that whether the management has taken some action on the whistleblower complaint. ये तो नहीं है कि whistleblower complaint आई और उसको throw it in the dustbin, ऐसा तो नहीं है. Okay, so is that clear? So it is noticed that by requiring the auditor to report whether any fraud by the company or on the company has been noticed, does not relieve the auditor from his responsibility to consider fraud in audit of financial statements. कि जो auditor की responsibility है SA 240 के हिसाब से, वो किसी भी तरह इस रिपोर्टिंग से कम नहीं होती. जो SA 240 में हमने पढ़ा है वो तो उसके अकॉर्डिंग तो जो प्रोसीजर्स हैं वो तो ऑडिटर को करने ही करने हैं. कारो 2020 में रिपोर्ट करने से SA 240 की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी खत्म नहीं होती. ओके, Himanshu, you are saying auditor's inquiry mean in starting a point? It means that what the auditor has to report. Auditor has to report on these 3 points: fraud noticed, reporting, and whistleblower. It states that his scope of reporting under Caro 2020 is related to only these 3 points. Point number 1 was fraud noticed or reported during the year, whether on the company or by the company. Number 2, whether ADT4 was filed during the year. Number 3, whether whistleblower complaints, if any, received during the year. Okay, clear guys? So let us take a short break. Would it be good? So let us take a short break for 10 minutes guys here. Yes, Syed. Are you able to see Caro 2020? Yes, Syed. Tell me. Is Caro 2020 visible to you? You were saying that please show us what matters are to be included in Caro 2020. So this is actual order. So in paragraph 3, it states matters to be included in auditor's report. So the auditor's reports on the accounts of a company to which this order applies shall include a statement on the following matters. So there are many matters like number 1, whether the company is maintaining proper records of property, plant and equipment. So like that, like, so there is a first point relates to property, plant and equipment. Second point relates to second clause relates to this point, whether physical verification of inventory has been conducted at reasonable intervals by management, and whether in the opinion of auditor what is the procedure in this regard. So like this, there are many points in this order. All these points, what are the scope of these points, what is reporting requirements, you would be studying in your chapter on company audit. Okay, so I am showing this only at the request of Syed. Okay, and as far as this chapter is concerned, we are only concerned with point number clause 11. Now what is clause 11? Now this is the clause 11. Clause 11, whether any fraud, again the same wording, what is written in your module, it has been taken from here. Whether any fraud by the company or any fraud on the company has been noticed or reported during the year. If yes, the nature and amount involved to be indicated. Okay. No, it is not last chapter, Muhammad. It is not last chapter. I think there are 3 chapters after that. And whether any report under subsection 12 of section 143 has been filed by the auditors in form ADT4, whether the auditor has considered whistleblower complaints, if any, received during the year by the company. So as far as this chapter is concerned, we are concerned with this clause 11 relating to reporting of frauds under Caro 2020. Clear, guys? Syed, your suggestion was good. I think other students might be now more comfortable after seeing this order, because when you see something, your mind throws up a picture. It creates a picture and you know that, okay, this is Caro 2020 and there is some clause 11 in it. Okay. So is it clear to you guys? Yes, Mohammed, yes. You're right. So is it clear to you? Again, I am showing the slide for a longer period, so as to so that you guys can familiarize yourself with it. Okay, Bhumika, whistleblower complaint can relate to any aspect. Say like fraudulent purchases are being made, there can be whistleblower complaint. That some officers are purchasing goods at the inflated prices and in turn are getting kickbacks. It can relate to any aspect of the working of the company. Shubham, Mr. Shubham Khopade, you are asking point A means if fraud has been noticed by the previous auditor or current auditor. No, previous auditor say notice nahi. It means noticed by the management or it has already come in the knowledge of management, either by management itself or by some auditor of current period, like cost auditor or secretarial auditor. Okay, प्रीवियस ऑडिटर का कोई इसमें वो नहीं है. Clear guys, so let us move to your module now. So audit procedures and reporting under कारो. So आपको कारो के अंडर फ्रॉड की रिपोर्टिंग करनी है, तो आपको क्या क्या आपके ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स होने चाहिए. व्हाट शुड बी ऑडिट, व्हाट ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स शुड यू परफॉर्म. So while planning the audit, auditor should discuss with other members of team susceptibility of company to material misstatements due to fraud. First of all तो ये है कि you have to see whether risk of material misstatement exists due to fraud. आपको ये असेसमेंट करनी है whether risk of material misstatement exists due to fraud. Okay, उसके बाद to materiality आपका कोई रिलेशन नहीं बन रहा क्वेश्चन का सैयद. You are not clear of what you are asking to say, what you are trying to ask. Sorry. The auditor should examine the reports of internal auditor. से अगर कोई इंटरनल ऑडिटर है कंपनी में, तो क्या susceptibility simply means Mohammed sensitivity, whether there are some greater chances of the company or lower chances for the company that risk of material misstatement exists. Say if the company is in debt, its business is not operating, its controls are not well, its controls are not functioning well. Okay, 2-3 persons are taking all decisions, then obviously risk of material misstatement due to fraud is more. Simple. कितनी बार ये चीजें बता चुके हैं आपको. So say कंपनी में इंटरनल ऑडिट डिपार्टमेंट है. ओके, सो वेदर कोई इंटरनल ऑडिटर ने फ्रॉड मैनेजमेंट को बताया क्या, क्योंकि इंटरनल ऑडिट का भी तो इंटरनल कंट्रोल गवर्नेंस मैकेनिज्म इंप्रूव करना, उसका इट इज वन ऑफ द फंक्शंस ऑफ द इंटरनल ऑडिटर. तो इफ से इंटरनल ऑडिटर हैज reported some fraud in his report to the management, then the auditor can go through his report and see whether he has reported, and if he has reported, then auditor can also report the same in CARO 2020 under clause 11. Okay, what action has been taken on that? So the auditor should inquire from the management about any frauds on the company that it has noticed or that have been reported to it. The auditor should also discuss the matter with other employees, including officers of the company. Okay, what further action has been taken? The auditor should also inquire about whistleblower complaints. Okay, कैसे आप, what is the system of the company रिगार्डिंग विसल ब्लोअर कंप्लेंट्स. क्या एक्शन हुआ, अगर एक्शन हुआ तो बोर्ड मीटिंग में क्या एक्शन लिया गया. सो ही हैज टू रीड द मिनट्स ऑफ द बोर्ड मीटिंग. ओके, एंड द ऑडिटर, ये तो है रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन तो लेनी है आपको, वो तो पता ही है कि दैट किस बारे में रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन ली जाती है स्टूडेंट्स. ओके, लेट us see whether you remember something out of the previous chapters or not. Tell me What is the essay of written representations? कौन सा essay नंबर है बताइए, देखिए आपको याद है कि नहीं. Let us say, do not see from your module, guys. Do not see from your module. जितनी जल्दी मेरे को जवाब आएगा आपका, I would assume कि आपने कहीं से कॉपी नहीं किया है, आप खुद आंसर दे रहे हैं. Yes, 2-3 mails have come. 2-3 mails have come. What about others? Bhumika, Sonali, and Muhammad Aslam and Sonali, they have written correctly. Correct essay is essay 580. Guys, how you are writing essay 501? Bhumika? 501 relates to audit evidence in respect of selected items like physical inventory, litigation, and claims. How you are writing essay 501? Somebody is writing 480. You have done. Muhammad Aslam is saying that he is the first. Yes, Muhammad. Keep it up. So this all things you have done in your chapter 3 on audit evidence. इतनी जल्दी भूल गए chapter 3 को. Audit evidence essay 580. So the auditor should obtain written representation from the management that it acknowledges its responsibility. And another question related to written representation, tell me whether written representations are sufficient appropriate evidence, audit evidence. Tell me whether written representations are sufficient appropriate audit evidence. No, essay 580 audit evidence नहीं है. essay 580 written representations है. प्रीतम, कभी भी एग्जाम में स्टूडेंट्स डू नॉट राइट रॉन्ग essay. रॉन्ग essay आपको कभी नहीं लिखनी है. अगर नहीं आपको मालूम, अगर नाम उसका नंबर याद नहीं है, तो प्लीज डू नॉट राइट नंबर. Yes, no. This you are writing, everybody is writing rightly. These are not sufficient appropriate audit evidence. These are only necessary audit evidence, as Himanshu Pathak is writing. Okay. So the management gives the written representation to the auditor that it is responsible for the internal control system, proper functioning of the internal control system, and it believes that effects of those uncorrected misstatement in financial statements are immaterial both individually and aggregate. That if there are some misstatements in financial statements, then effect of that is immaterial. Okay. So that if the auditor has pointed out some misstatements, say, and the management has not corrected it, so these would become uncorrected misstatements. And management says, okay, there are certain incorrected misstatements, but effect of that is not material. It is immaterial. Okay. And it has disclosed to the auditor all significant facts relating to frauds known to the management. So this representation is obtained that all known fraud facts have been disclosed to the auditor by the management. Okay. And it has also disclosed to the auditor the results of assessment of the risk that financial statement may be materially misstatement as a result of fraud. Okay, so why it is necessary to obtain such a kind of written representation from management? Why? Yes, students. Next question comes, then next logical step comes. Why auditor should obtain such a written representation from management regarding fraud, that you have disclosed to us all the cases which you were aware relating to fraud? Why and that you have uh, that you are responsible for assessment of, you are responsible for the fact that financial statements might be misstated due to fraud. So why written representation from management is taken in this respect? Yes, students. Can you tell the reason? Can you tell the reason? Muhammad has replied lightning fast. Muhammad, slightly expand on it. What you are writing, slightly expand on it. No, the purpose, Sonali and Himanshu, purpose of obtaining written representation is, say, first I will talk about it generally, about written representations. Why does an auditor take written representation from management? उसका पीछे रीजन लॉजिक क्या है? उसके पीछे लॉजिक ये है कि ऑडिटर को, इट इज पॉसिबल दैट ऑडिटर डज नॉट नो एवरीथिंग of of everything of all the matters. He doesn't know everything of anything. Okay, you can state it that way. So he is not supposed to do. He cannot he cannot say that every information is in his knowledge, every fact is in his knowledge. So therefore, a written representation acts as a sort of safety valve, you can say, for the auditor. Okay, that at least management is acknowledging these things, that the management is acknowledges these things, that we are preparing the financial statements, it is our responsibility, that we are responsible for internal controls. Okay, and its proper functioning. Okay, and that we are responsible, that we have disclosed to, for the fact that we have disclosed to you all the known cases of fraud, because it might so happen that auditor doesn't uh, know about all the things. So it is better to obtain a written representation, but these do not constitute a sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Okay, these can be best a necessary audit evidence. And so management was responsible for preparation of financial statements. Then management is also responsible for preparing a financial statements in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework, which gives a true and fair view. So if in the course of audit, the auditor has pointed out some misstatement, then it is the responsibility of management to correct it. If the management doesn't correct it, then auditor would give a modified opinion. It would lead to impact on his opinion. Okay. So that is all the logic flow. So because management is responsible for adjusting the financial statements to correct material misstatements, it is important that auditor obtains written representation from management that any uncorrected misstatements, resulting from fraud are immaterial, both individually and in aggregate. Management has to give specifically in writing that if there are any incorrected misstatements resulting from fraud, these are immaterial, not only individually but in totality, but combining these. Okay, so again the same thing. These representations are not a substitute for obtaining sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Okay. All these things we have done already. Where the auditor notices that any fraud by the company or on the company by its officer or employees has been noticed or reported during the year, the auditor shall apart from reporting the existence of fraud, also required to report nature and amount involved. Okay, nature and amount involved. So this is a sort of comparison of, you can say, 143.12 with Caro 2020. Okay. Of the frauds covered under 143, only noticed frauds shall be included here, not the suspected frauds. That is also an important difference. Here under Caro, frauds which are noticed or reported. Okay, but under 143, where he has reasons to believe, suspected also. Okay. So guys, broad things you have to understand. This topic is very vast, fraud reporting, and there is a complete, I think there is a guidance note on it also, on reporting requirements, running into about 100 of pages. So at intermediate level, you have to understand only the broad things. Okay, so just try to remember uh, the key points, the broad things. Okay. So now what happens, students? It could so happen that if as a result of misstatement, the auditor has discovered a fraud, and auditor concludes that it is not possible for him to continue performing the audit. From a fraud is such, or suspected fraud is such, that it's effective pervasive total. ऑडिटर कहता है साहब मैं तो कुछ भी साइन नहीं कर सकता, सब कुछ ही गलत है, आई इवन डिस्क्लेमर भी देना मेरे लिए मुश्किल है. ओके मोटी, खाली क्वालिफाइड या एडवर्स ओपिनियन की तो बात ही छोड़िए, डिस्क्लेमर मैं आई कैन नॉट कंटिन्यू द एंगेजमेंट, सब कुछ कंपनी में फ्रॉड है, टोटल फ्रॉड है, सेल्स भी मिसस्टेटेड है, एक्सपेंस है, सेट्स सब कुछ मिसस्टेटेड है. ओके, so what should auditor do in such a circumstance? Okay, professional and legal responsibilities applicable in the circumstances. So the persons who made the appointment or to the regulatory authority, say to Ministry of Corporate Affairs or to the shareholders or to the board, whoever appointed it, okay, what are his responsibilities to report and to see whether he can withdraw legally from the engagement, whether it is possible, whether there is a bar or whether there is a no bar. If the auditor withdraws, if he chooses to withdraw from the engagement, if he makes a decision if he makes a decision to withdraw from the engagement, then discuss with management his withdrawal from the engagement and reasons for withdrawal. Also, he has to state reasons for withdrawal and discuss whether there is a requirement to inform regulatory authorities like ministry, like MCA, and what are the reasons for such a withdrawal. Okay, here. So guys, let us try to do some questions. Let us, what is the answer, guys? Teaming and leading is one of the techniques for inflating cash payments. I think this one we have done already. Probably day before yesterday we had done this. Teaming and leading is one of the techniques for inflating cash payments. Correct or incorrect? Yes, Muhammad is fast. Yes, it is false. It is a techniques for suppressing cash receipt. Number 3, auditor needs to report to central government in case of fraud involving 20 lakh rupees. तो गाइज इतना पढ़ने के बाद तो आपको ये बहुत सिंपल लगना चाहिए. Auditor need to report to the central government in case of fraud involving 20 lakh rupees. Yes, it is false. 1 करोड़ है. ठीक है, और देखते हैं. The primary responsibility for prevention and detection of fraud rests with both those charged with governance of the entity and management. Yes, number 4. Whether it is correct or incorrect. The primary responsibility for the prevention and detection of fraud rests with both those charged with governance of the entity and management. प्राइमरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी किसकी है? फ्रॉड के प्रिवेंशन या डिटेक्शन की. यस गाइस, इसके बारे में तो पूरा हमने वो जो आपकी बॉक्स आइटम थी मॉड्यूल में वो पूरी की थी. यस, इट इज करेक्ट, ट्रू. प्राइमरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी मैनेजमेंट की है, ऑडिटर की नहीं है. सबसे पहले तो मैनेजमेंट ही रिस्पॉन्सिबल है फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स के लिए. In comparing management fraud with employee fraud, the auditor's risk of failing to discover the fraud is less for management fraud. Yes, number 7. Number 7. In comparing management fraud with employee fraud, the auditor's risk of failing to discover fraud is less for management fraud. Only 2 mails have come in relation to number 7. Singh Rajiv Kumar and Himanshu Pathak. in comparing management fraud with employee fraud. This type of question we have done previously also. It was stated in a different way, but this type of statement was there. Yes, this statement is false, guys. How you are writing correct? Singh Rajiv Kumar, how you are saying it is correct? Preetam, how you are saying it is correct? अवधेश कुमार, सो ये कह रहा है कि ऑडिटर रिस्क ऑफ फेलिंग टू डिस्कवर फ्रॉड इज लेस फॉर मैनेजमेंट फ्रॉड. Auditor's risk of failing to discover fraud is less for management fraud. Yes, it is true. Sorry, it is true. Auditor's risk, किसमें ज्यादा रिस्क है कि ऑडिटर डिटेक्ट नहीं करेगा? इंप्लॉय फ्रॉड को डिटेक्ट करना इजी है, एंड ऑडिटर्स रिस्क ऑफ फेलिंग टू डिस्कवर फ्रॉड is less for management fraud. It is management fraud. Because why? Why? Because it might be laid carefully. Okay. So now let us do some MCQs, guys. Are you ready for some MCQs? Yes. Question number 1. The requirement for a company auditor to report fraud of rupees 1 crore or more is contained in where? Which is the correct option? Mohammed, what you are trying to ask? Tell me. You are saying, please, can we write answer in exam? What is its meaning? What you are trying to say or to convey? Question number 1, only Mohammed. Sayyid, the point is auditor risk in detecting management, auditor risk of not detecting management fraud is greater. Risk of not detecting. It is difficult for him to detect management fraud than an employee fraud. Employee fraud he can easily detect, but management fraud, it may be carefully done after concealing many things. So the risk that it is not detected would be greater. So you have to understand the concept, whatever the language that you would have to correlate. Okay. So simple was the question that, yes, Mohit, we are getting your mail. You have also answered D option to question number 1. Preetam, how come, guys? How come you are writing Caro 2020? Caro 2020 में तो 1 करोड़ का जिक्र ही नहीं है. This is wrong option. There is no reference in Caro 2020 2 rupees 1 crore. How you are stating in that it is there in Caro 2020? क्रिमिनल लॉ में ऑडिटर का क्या मतलब है? उससे ऑडिटर को रिपोर्ट करना है. ऐसे 240 में कोई रिपोर्टिंग की स्पेसिफिक अमाउंट रिलेटेड कोई गाइडेंस नहीं है. देयर इज नो गाइडेंस. And option left is 143 subsection 12, which is the correct answer. Which is the correct option. So The requirement for a company auditor to report fraud of 1 CR or more is contained in Section 143, subsection 12 of Companies Act and relevant rules. Read with relevant rules. Now, Mohammed, you are asking, can we write the answers in your own words? Mohammed, this I have told you earlier also many times. Probably you might be you might not be there in those classes. Look, you cannot change the keywords. Number one, point number one is that you cannot change the keywords. You can write whatever, one para, two para, you can write in your own words. Obviously, you would have to write. You cannot cram so much things. But the spirit of that should be the same. You cannot use any other word in place of audit procedures. Can you? Or can you use some word where you would have to write inspection as audit procedure? You would have to write inspection. Where you would have to write limitations of audit, you would have to write limitations of audit. Where you have to explain meaning of internal control, you have to explain all those 4 points. You have to state that it is a system designed, maintained, and implemented by the management. You cannot choose other words for these things. But as far as framing of sentences is concerned, obviously you can frame it in your own way. Like in case of fraud, say, now you cannot change the word fraudulent financial reporting for something else, or you cannot by yourself put in your own words in the definition of fraud as per SA 240. Clear? No, there might be some confusion in Himanshu Pathak in the answer to question that language has to be seen, what is written there. So what I have told you, you remember that thing, that management risk of not detecting management fraud is greater for the auditor because it is difficult to detect, and then try to correlate with the answer whether it is correct or incorrect. Okay, risk of not detecting, and risk of not detecting misstatement from employee fraud is lesser. Risk of detecting employee fraud, risk of not detecting management fraud is greater because the management fraud may be camouflaged. It might be carefully planned. Okay. Sayed, you are asking should answer be like essay or pressy? If you see the question paper, the questions are of 3 marks or 4 marks. Even descriptive question is of 4 marks. So obviously you cannot write more than 2 para, 2 or 3 paras, maximum 10-15 lines. Even that would be difficult for you to write. So length is not the point. Even if you write 1 para or 5-6 lines which bring out all the aspects which is required, then you would get the full credit. Okay. Now we come to question number 2. Fraud of 1 CR or more is reported by company statutory auditor in which form? In which form? जैम सिंपल गाइस, कितनी बार बोल चुका हूं मैं अब तक तो मेल्स जितने लोग सुन रहे हैं, whether you are 15, 20 or 30, the mails should have come. Yes, all are right. Answer is form ADT4. Correct option, all other are wrong options. Okay. सो फॉर्म ADT4, ये तो दिस आई एम श्योर ये आपको याद हो गया अब ADT4। क्वेश्चन नंबर 3, विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज नॉट एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ फ्रॉड रिस्क फैक्टर। क्वेश्चन ध्यान से पढ़िए स्टूडेंट्स, रीड द क्वेश्चन केयरफुली। Which of the following is not an example of fraud risk factor? कौन सा fraud risk factor का example नहीं है? Three options are examples of fraud risk factor. Fourth is not. Which is not an example? Only Shubham has sent his mail. What about other? What is? Which of the following is not an example of fraud risk factor? मैंने आपको, आप स्टूडेंट सब फंडामेंटल भूल जाते हो। My more emphasis is on fundamentals, is on strengthening your fundamentals. But you people forget the fundamentals. So when you forget the fundamentals, you are bound to make mistakes. Now, many of you have answered correctly. Shubham, he had answered firstly. Shubham has answered correctly. Manisha, Himanshu Pathak, Mohit Saini, Sushma, all of you have answered correctly. So Muhammad and others, you are writing option B is correct. न्यू अकाउंटिंग और रेगुलेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट्स। पहले तो आपको क्वेश्चन मैंने कहा था समझिए, फ्रॉड रिस्क फैक्टर का मतलब क्या है। I have been telling you that fraud risk factors are events or conditions which indicate that there exists an opportunity for the management to commit fraud. Okay, or which indicates that the controls can be overridden, which can provide incentive or pressure for the management to commit fraud. So tell me, you are writing न्यू अकाउंटिंग और रेगुलेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट्स इज नॉट एन एग्जाम्पल। सो जब कोई नई लॉ कोई आएगा, कोई अकाउंटिंग की नई रिक्वायरमेंट है, तो उसमें पॉसिबिलिटी है कि उसका यूज करके उसको इंटेंशनल मिसस्टेटमेंट फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में हो जाएगी। बिल्कुल हो सकती है, इट इज क्वाइट पॉसिबल। फ्रॉड रिस्क फैक्टर है, हाई डिग्री ऑफ कंपटीशन है इंडस्ट्री में, डिक्लाइनिंग मार्जिन है, फ्रॉड रिस्क फैक्टर है। नोन पास हिस्ट्री ऑफ सेबी वॉलेशन है, जो प्रमोटर्स हैं वो पहले भी पुराने वॉलेटर रहे हैं सेबी रूल्स के। सो इट इज ए फ्रॉड रिस्क फैक्टर, इट शोज मैनेजमेंट इन बैड लाइट। और इंटेंशनल बुकिंग ऑफ फेक परचेजेस, ये तो फ्रॉड इटसेल्फ ही है। ओनली शुभम हैज गिवन करेक्ट रीजनिंग। वेल डन शुभम, very well done. Answer is C. This was a tricky question. It was a question to trap you. आपने देखा इंटेंशनल बुकिंग ऑफ फेक परचेजेस, आपने कहा फ्रॉड, फेक परचेजेस हैं, इंटेंशनली है, फ्रॉड के सब एलिमेंट्स हो रहे हैं, फ्रॉड है। ऊपर से भूल गए कि क्वेश्चन फ्रॉड के बारे में नहीं पूछ रहा, फ्रॉड रिस्क फैक्टर के बारे में पूछ रहा है। सो दिस वाज ए ट्रैप लेड फॉर यू, और आप कई लोग उस ट्रैप में फंस गए। इंटेंशनल बुकिंग ऑफ फेक परचेजेस इज ए फ्रॉड इटसेल्फ। वो तो फ्रॉड हो चुका है, फ्रॉड रिस्क फैक्टर कहां से रहा। गाइस अब आपको फ्रॉड रिस्क फैक्टर का कंसेप्ट समझ में आ गया। Have you understood the concept? Yes, guys. Drop mail so that I can hop on to next question. No, Mohammed, again, intentional is not the keyword. It shows when the fake purchases have been booked, when something is happened, how it remains a risk factor. Then that thing has been committed. When we talk about risk factors, we are saying about certain conditions in the environment which promote that thing, which may say that such thing would happen. Like I'd given you example of fertile soil. Say if fertile soil is there, so what would it indicate? It would indicate that plant will grow. That risk factor of plant not growing would be less. So you can understand by such a simple example. Okay. Now number 4. Which of the following is not a prescribed step in reporting fraud of 1 CR or more to central government? से अगर 1 करोड़ या उससे ऊपर का फ्रॉड है और सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को रिपोर्ट करना है, तो इनमें से कौन सा स्टेप नहीं है? Which of the following is not a prescribed step? Yes, tell me. What should be the answer? What should be the answer? Only 4 mails have come. Yes, guys. So substantial number of people have answered rightly. But how come Singh Rajiv Kumar, Avdesh, Sonali Chavan and Sayyid Yasir Ahmed? How you are writing option C? क्या ये स्टेप नहीं है फ्रॉड में रिपोर्टिंग करने का? पहले मैटर बोर्ड या ऑडिट कमेटी को रिपोर्ट होगा, फिर उनकी रिप्लाई आएगी। अगर उसकी रिप्लाई के साथ क्या कमेंट, जो रिप्लाई है उसके कमेंट्स भी तो ऑडिटर लगा के देगा उसमें कि जो रिप्लाई है वेदर ही इज सेटिस्फाइड इट विद और नॉट, क्या रीजन है, और अल्टीमेटली मिनिस्ट्री को रिपोर्ट करेगा। तो ये तो सारे प्रेस्क्राइब्ड स्टेप्स हैं। पहला फर्स्ट ए वाज देयर, रिपोर्टिंग ऑफ द मैटर टू सीएफओ ऑफ द कंपनी, कहां पढ़ा था आपने? दिस इज नॉट ए प्रेस्क्राइब्ड स्टेप। तो आइदर इट इज टू बी रिपोर्टेड टू बोर्ड और इट इज टू बी रिपोर्टेड टू ऑडिट कमेटी। दो ही चीजें थी सेक्शन 143(12) में, इधर इट वाज बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स और इट वाज ऑडिट कमेटी। So how you are writing C? How you are saying C? Okay. So clear, guys. Now 5th question. Damn simple. Which of the following is not a constituent of fraud as per SA 240? Which of the following is not a constituent of fraud as per SA 240? अब देश, इतना भी आपको ओवर थिंक नहीं करना है जैसे आप सोच रहे हो। बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स को, बोर्ड एक बॉडी है, किसी एक डायरेक्टर को नहीं भेजना। अगर सीएफओ डायरेक्टर है तो उसको क्या होगा? ऐसे करोगे तो आप सारी क्वेश्चन गलत करोगे। बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स इज ए बॉडी, इट इज अ गवर्निंग बॉडी ऑफ द कंपनी, इधर बोर्ड और टू द ऑडिट कमेटी। एक आदमी को तो भेजना ही नहीं है। यस, वेरी सिंपल क्वेश्चन टेकन फ्रॉम एस 240। क्वेश्चन ही बोल रहा है कि क्या आंसर है। इट इज सो सिंपल। देखते हैं ये भी कोई आप में से गलत करता है क्या? यस, गलत करने वाले हैं। राइट ऑप्शन इज दिस वाज आल्सो ए स्मॉल ट्रैप इन्वॉल्विंग यूज ऑफ करप्शन। आप करप्शन वर्ड आते ही आपको आ जाता है करप्शन है तो फ्रॉड तो है ही। क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज नॉट ए कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट ऑफ फ्रॉड। क्या एसए 240 में जो फ्रॉड की डेफिनेशन है उसमें करप्शन वर्ड आया आपके पास कहीं? उसमें वर्ड आया डिसेप्शन। फ्रॉड की डेफिनेशन में हमने क्या पढ़ा था? क्वेश्चन क्या पूछ रहा है? विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज नॉट ए कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट ऑफ फ्रॉड एज पर एसए 240। एसए 240 की बात हो रही है। एसए 240 की जो आप डेफिनेशन है आप उसमें देख लें, उसमें क्या लाइन लिखी है? फ्रॉड इज एन इंटेंशनल एक्ट कमिटेड बाय वन और मोर इंडिविजुअल्स। ओके, among management, those charged with governance, employees or third parties involving use of deception to gain an illegal or unfair advantage. Okay. So illegal, involving an illegal advantage is there. Shubham, we are talking about the definition as per SA 240. We are not talking about what fraud is understood in general terms. The question says constituent of fraud as per SA 240 involving use of deception, involving intention in act. Intention is also there. It is a must, it is a necessary constituent as per SA 240. Illegal advantage is also there, and this is not there as per the definition, as per the constituent नहीं है उसका. Okay. So clear guys? So guys, I think that you have got understanding of the chapter 5, and found it to be, you people found it to be interesting or boring. That depends upon you, that depends upon your perception, that depends upon how you perceive it and how you study it. Okay, so it was this much for today. So next chapter 6 will be taken by another faculty, CA Vipul. Guys, okay, good night to all of you. Good night to all of you. Thank you so much for giving me a patient listening. Okay, thanks guys. Okay, it's over for tonight.